Bill Skarsgård, a Swedish actor best known for his chilling portrayal of Pennywise in the It films, is once again stepping into the realm of horror with his portrayal of Count Orlok in the upcoming Nosferatu remake, directed by Robert Eggers. However, while both the actor and director share a love for the genre, their visions for the infamous vampire character couldn't have been more different. These contrasting artistic ideas led to a fascinating and, at times, tense creative process during the making of the film. The collaboration between Eggers and Skarsgård ultimately gave rise to a version of Count Orlok that retains the character's demonic and terrifying nature, while also introducing unexpected layers of vulnerability that make the character more complex than the traditional evil vampire. Eggers, who has already established himself as a visionary director with films like The Witch and The Lighthouse, is known for his meticulous attention to historical accuracy and his commitment to creating tension through atmosphere rather than relying on traditional horror tropes. His approach to Nosferatu was no different. Eggers envisioned Count Orlok not just as a vampire, but as an almost otherworldly demonic force, a creature so inherently evil that it had no place for empathy or moral complexity. This vision of Orlok was a direct response to what Eggers saw as the overabundance of heroic and tragic vampires in contemporary media. Films and shows like Twilight and True Blood had humanized vampires, giving them rich backstories, love interests, and emotional struggles. To Eggers, these depictions had diluted the inherent terror of the vampire mythos, transforming them into figures that could be understood or sympathized with. He wanted to push back against that trend and present a villain who was beyond redemption. In a statement to SFX magazine, Eggers was blunt about his approach. "Because I'm so tired of the heroic and sad vampires, I was just like, he's a demon, he's so evil." Eggers' philosophy was rooted in his desire to bring the fear and horror back into the genre. For him, Count Orlok wasn't just a bloodsucker, but a demonic entity that existed solely to spread fear and destruction. This idea of Orlok as a dark force with no redeeming qualities stood in stark contrast to the traditional, often sympathetic portrayal of vampires in modern horror, where they are sometimes depicted as tragic anti-heroes rather than pure antagonists. While Eggers had a clear vision for the character, Bill Skarsgård, whose previous role as Pennywise in It earned him a reputation for embodying some of the most terrifying figures in modern cinema, had a vastly different perspective on how Count Orlok should be portrayed. Skarsgård believed that even a villain as monstrous as Orlok could not simply be an embodiment of pure evil. He argued that beneath the layers of horror, there needed to be moments of vulnerability, something that would allow the audience to see the character not just as a demon, but as a complex being who was capable of more than just violence. This viewpoint was rooted in Skarsgård's belief that true evil is not just about malevolence, but also about understanding the deeper emotional and psychological complexities that drive a character. Skarsgård's desire to bring vulnerability to Orlok, even if it was subtle and fleeting, reflected his approach to acting, which tends to favor nuanced, multidimensional characters. According to Skarsgård, a villain with no vulnerabilities would be too one-dimensional to make an impact. He wanted Count Orlok to evoke not only fear, but also a strange sense of empathy, even if that empathy was fleeting. Yeah, but there needs to be some times where he has some kind of vulnerability. Skarsgård explained in the same FX interview, "It's very subtle and it's not there often, but it is enough." Skarsgård's approach added a layer of complexity to Orlok, transforming him from a mindless villain into a creature that was, at times, haunted, or perhaps even conflicted in his own existence. This vulnerability added an unsettling depth to the character, making him more terrifying precisely because it made him harder to predict. This philosophical divide between the director and actor was not a matter of clashing egos, but rather an embodiment of two different artistic philosophies about how horror and evil should be represented on screen. For Eggers, horror needed to be pure and unrelenting. Evil was evil, and there was no need to soften it with emotional backstories or nuances. Skarsgård, on the other hand, believed that even the most fearsome characters should have complexity, and that complexity, when executed properly, could make the horror even more profound. Despite their differing viewpoints, Eggers and Skarsgård found a way to balance their visions and merge them into a cohesive character. One of the key aspects of Skarsgård's portrayal of Orlok is his intense focus on physicality. He worked tirelessly on his body language, his movements, and his expressions to create a version of Orlok that was both monstrous and unsettlingly human. While Eggers may have wanted a more demon-like creature, Skarsgård's commitment to bringing a sense of reality to Orlok made him feel like a more tangible threat. Skarsgård's performance echoed the unnatural movements of the original Nosferatu film from 1922, in which Max Schreck portrayed Orlok with eerie, jerky motions that gave the vampire an almost inhuman quality. Skarsgård's take on this physicality was more modern, but it still retained that sense of otherworldly strangeness that made the character feel alien and monstrous. In addition to his physical performance, Skarsgård's vocal work was another area where he went above and beyond to create a truly terrifying Orlok. Skarsgård, who is known for his ability to modulate his voice for different roles, decided to focus specifically on deepening his voice to create a more ominous sound. He worked with an opera coach to ensure that his voice would have the right resonance and power to bring Count Orlok to life. Skarsgård's commitment to achieving this vocal transformation without relying on special effects was key to making his portrayal of Orlok feel grounded and real. In fact, Eggers himself praised Skarsgård's dedication to his voice, telling SFX magazine, "That's Bill, not effects." This commitment to using natural voice and physical techniques instead of relying on digital manipulation ensured that Orlok's presence on screen would feel visceral and genuine, heightening the character's overall impact. The collaboration between Eggers and Skarsgård is a perfect example of how different creative visions can come together to shape a character in a way that transcends any one individual's approach. Eggers' demonic vision of Orlok pushed the character into a darker, more terrifying realm, while Skarsgård's insistence on vulnerability and humanity added an unexpected layer of depth that makes Orlok feel more complex than a simple villain. This combination of forces created a version of Count Orlok that is not only terrifying, but deeply fascinating. As the film draws closer to its release, it's clear that Nosferatu will offer a fresh and unique take on a character who has become an iconic figure in horror cinema. Skarsgård's portrayal of Count Orlok will be a memorable one, as he brings a haunting complexity to a character that could have easily been reduced to a one-dimensional monster. Whether Orlok is seen as a demonic force of pure evil or as a tragic figure with moments of vulnerability, Skarsgård's performance is sure to leave a lasting impression on audiences. This Nosferatu is shaping up to be a horror film that blends traditional elements with new thought-provoking ideas, making it a must-see for fans of the genre. Through the fusion of Eggers' vision and Skarsgård's dedication to his craft, Count Orlok is poised to become a truly unforgettable horror villain. The collaboration between these two creative forces is a testament to the power of artistic tension in film. While Eggers and Skarsgård may have approached Count Orlok from different angles, the result is a character that is both terrifying and tragic, complex and multifaceted in a way that challenges traditional notions of what a villain should be. Nosferatu promises to be a powerful exploration of evil, vulnerability, and the unsettling beauty of horror. Through the juxtaposition of these contrasting visions, Eggers and Skarsgård have managed to create a version of Count Orlok that feels timeless yet fresh, a vampire who is as haunting as he is tragic, and a film that will undoubtedly leave a mark on the horror genre for years to come.